Because you were the first comedian to leverage MySpace.
Oh yeah, I mean, for sure at that time, the whole thing of comedy coming out of the, there's a joke in my act that I say recently. I go, people go like, how's comedy after the pandemic? And I was like, well, I already went through one pandemic before this. I said I made it through the '90s of stand-up comedy, which was like wretched. I mean, really, really, like, you talk about a abysmal, boring, bad era for stand-up. So by the time it hit 2000, it really was like, okay, where do I belong?
Yep.
How can I use my love of tech?
Yes.
I was a geek. I liked being online.
Yep.
I was like, how can I utilize all this to my advantage and break through?
Do you think you would have had a different career if you were coming up now? Because there's all these, you were the first person to leverage social media with MySpace early on, and now it's an era where everyone has the tools and everyone's more aware of it. So if you were coming up right now, if Dane Cook was coming up right now,
I think
would it be different?
I think what's harder now is there is an algorithm, and it was like the Wild West. There was nothing maintaining that retention rates, or there wasn't an ad that needed to be baked in every minute or whatever it was. It truly was like, if something caught in 2002, you were global. There was no rigmarole to go through. So today, I think if I was gonna approach it, I don't know actually what I would do today, but I will say that when I finally had my moment, I think it was the coupling of, I was finding these fans online, but I did work for 12 straight years on an act that when I got you in the room, I did light a fire with the internet, but when I got you in the room, I felt like that was where I could make people go, oh, well, there's something more here than just a great website.
It's weird. I always think about if George Carlin, Seinfeld, Eddie Murphy, Pryor came up in the era of today. Like, I'm imagining a young Eddie Murphy going, I'm at Catch a Rising Star this weekend.
Right.
Or I'm going to Yuck Yucks and get your tickets on my Instagram. It's a weird thing to think about because obviously the priority is writing and comedy, but so much of my time is also spent on the business of this and creating content and editing it. And
you have to be entrepreneurial. You have to love that side of it. You have to, kind of like think outside of the box in terms of like, here's what my live persona and performance is going to be. And then these are all the things that I'm putting together that hopefully will, rattle the algorithm around. I'd like to think that Carlin would be probably sitting in a room somewhere being like, I got these clips. Like that Carlin musicality of like, what should I cut up today and put online? It's like, you can imagine it would be a fun process for those guys trying to figure out exactly where they wanted to target their routines.
Oh my God. It would have been wild if they had come up today.
But you think like they were, for what they were doing, an appearance on Dick Cavett or the Merv Griffin show, you gotta realize those, even though there was Tonight shows and there was like Johnny Carson, there were still all these they weren't little, but these kind of in between that were the Dinah Shore show. I mean, stuff that people won't know today, but like there was a plethora of great evening and then late night talk shows. That was their version of getting on a podcast. So it was like, I'll bob through town, I'll do Cavett, and then I'll go over and I'm going to do, again, Dinah Shore, Merv's going to have me on, and they just did that whole
And those are only like 10-minute interviews. Like these podcasts, like an hour.
Yeah, and they all sang, I feel like, at the end of it.
Let's do it right now. Let's go. What should we do?
Kick in the music. Let's go. Something contemporary.
Yeah,
maybe some Sabrina
to the moon. Oh my God.
But it was really like, I like looking at that era because it is really similar to podcasting, because if you watch a lot of those old episodes of late night, they get into some real political conversation.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just the great Johnny Carson, like where you come on and you're hitting him out of the park and being funny. I felt like, I do feel like this generation is kind of doing what they did.